This happened to me about 2 years ago. I was driving from New York down to Tennessee to visit an old friend from college. I've always liked long drives. Most people hate them. I actually enjoy being alone on the road. Just me, a playlist, some podcasts, and hundreds of miles of highway. The plan was to drive straight through. I left before sunrise, thinking I could knock out the entire trip in one shot. By midnight, though, reality hit me. My eyes felt heavy. I'd been living off gas station coffee for hours. Every highway sign started looking the same. I knew I shouldn't keep driving. It was around 1 in the morning when I pulled off at an exit somewhere in Virginia. I don't remember the highway. I don't remember the town. Honestly, I don't even remember seeing a town. Just one of those exits with a gas station, a fast food place, and a couple of old motels sitting in the darkness. The kind of place you stop at because you don't have another option. I pulled into the first motel I saw. The sign outside had several letters burned out. Half the parking lot lights were dead. The place looked like it hadn't been renovated since the 1980s. For a second, I considered finding somewhere else. Then I looked at the clock. 1:15 in the morning. I was exhausted. I wasn't looking for luxury. I just needed a bed. Inside the office, there was thick, bulletproof glass, separating guests from the front desk. That should have been my first clue. The man working the desk looked like he was in his 50s. He barely glanced up when I walked in. I paid cash for one night. When he handed me the key card, I asked if the place was busy. He shook his head. Most of the upstairs rooms are empty tonight. At the time, that sounded great. No noisy neighbors, no kids running around, just peace and quiet. Turns out I couldn't have been more wrong. My room was upstairs near the far end of the building. The walk there already felt creepy. The balcony overlooked a mostly empty parking lot. The few cars parked there looked abandoned. Everything was silent except for the buzzing of old fluorescent lights. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room smelled damp. Not dirty exactly, just old. Like the carpet had absorbed decades of cigarette smoke and humidity. The air conditioner rattled like it was about to fall out of the wall. I turned it off after 10 seconds. The room immediately became warm and sticky. I seriously considered sleeping in my car, but I was too tired to care. I locked the door, checked the deadbolt twice, closed the blinds, took a quick shower, then climbed into bed with the TV playing quietly in the background. About 20 minutes later, I heard voices through the wall beside me. At first, it sounded like a couple arguing. Nothing unusual. Hotels and motels are full of arguments. One voice sounded deep and angry. The other sounded softer, almost feminine. I rolled my eyes and turned up the TV. Unfortunately, the walls were paper thin. The voices kept bleeding through. The argument went on and on and on. Eventually, I started paying attention. Something felt off. The timing wasn't natural. There was never any overlap. No interruptions. No talking over each other. Every response came immediately after the other voice finished speaking. Perfectly timed. Like lines in a script. I muted the TV. Now I was listening carefully. The more I listened, the stranger it became. Then suddenly it clicked. The voices weren't coming from two people. They were coming from one person. The deep voice sounded natural. The softer voice sounded forced, like someone pretending to be a woman. Once I noticed it, I couldn't unhear it. The guy next door was literally having an argument with himself. A full conversation. Switching between characters. Switching between personalities. For no reason whatsoever. I remember getting this weird feeling in my stomach. Because the moment I realized there was only one person in that room, the whole situation stopped being annoying and started feeling genuinely disturbing. The conversation continued for another 10 minutes. Then everything went silent. Complete silence. I stared at the ceiling, waiting, listening. Then came 3 slow knocks, right beside my bed. Knock, knock, Knock. The wall separating our rooms. I sat upright immediately. A few seconds passed. Then I heard a muffled voice through the wall. "I hear you in there." My entire body froze. Another knock. "I hear you in there." The voice sounded playful, almost amused, like he was enjoying himself. I didn't respond. I turned the TV volume up, trying to drown him out. For maybe 30 seconds, there was nothing. Then I heard a door open outside. My stomach dropped, because I knew exactly what that meant. He had left his room. I muted the TV instantly. The motel balcony carried sound real. I could hear footsteps approaching. Slow, deliberate, getting closer and closer, until they stopped right outside my room. My blinds were fully closed, except for one tiny gap near the edge. I kept staring at it. Part of me wanted to ignore it. The other part needed to know. Eventually, curiosity won. I walked over, carefully separated the blinds, and looked outside. I immediately jumped backward. A man was standing inches from my window. His face was pressed against the glass, just staring inside. His eyes looked unnaturally wide, almost bulging. For a split second, we made eye contact. Then I stumbled backward. My heart nearly exploded. The second he realized I'd seen him, he started talking. Not normally. Not even remotely normally. He began cycling through different voices. One sounded like a cartoon character. Another sounded like a little kid. Then an old man. Then a woman. Then a deep southern accent. One after another. Rapidly. Like he was performing for an audience only he could see. Then the knocking started. This time on my door. Bang, bang, bang. Each knock harder than the last. All while he continued switching voices. The whole thing felt surreal. If it had happened during the daytime, it might have been ridiculous. At 2 a.m, it was terrifying. I called the front desk, immediately. The worker sounded annoyed at first. Then he heard the banging through my phone. His attitude changed fast. He said he'd come up right away. The guy outside continued his bizarre performance for another minute. Then suddenly, everything stopped. I looked through the peephole. He was speed-walking back toward the room next to mine, almost like he knew somebody was coming. A minute later, the motel employee appeared. He had a flashlight in one hand. His other hand rested on a holstered pistol. That definitely didn't make me feel better. He knocked on the neighboring door. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. For almost a full minute, he stood there trying to get a response. Silence. Finally, he walked over to me. I opened my door and explained everything. The worker listened quietly. Then he hesitated, just for a second, before saying something that made my skin crawl. "Yeah, he's been staying here for a while." A while. That answer bothered me more than anything else. Not because of what it meant, because of how casually he said it. Like this wasn't the first complaint. I immediately asked for another room. He agreed. Within 10 minutes, I was downstairs near the office, closer to my car, closer to people, farther from that lunatic, or so I thought. I locked the new room, double-checked everything, then sat awake for nearly an hour. Eventually, exhaustion won. I drifted off. I don't know how long I slept. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. Then I woke up suddenly. At first, I didn't know why. Then I heard it. Footsteps, outside. I looked toward the window. A shadow moved past the blinds. A few seconds later, it passed again. Slowly, back and forth, back and forth. I approached the window, carefully, quietly, and looked through a small gap. My heart sank. It was him, the exact same guy. But something was different. He wasn't talking anymore. No weird voices, no knocking, no acting. He just kept walking past my room, looking directly at it every time, like he was waiting, watching, studying. I counted 6 passes, then 7, then 8, each one slower than the last. At one point, he stopped completely and stood facing my window, motionless. I don't know how long he stood there. 10 seconds, maybe 30. It felt like forever. Then he slowly smiled, turned around, and disappeared into the darkness behind the motel. I never saw him again. I didn't sleep another second. The moment the sky started getting lighter, I packed my things, threw everything into my car, and got out of there. I didn't even return the key card. About 10 minutes down the road, I stopped at a gas station for coffee. While standing at the counter, I noticed my hands were still shaking.